Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Hanson here, and we're back with a brand new Discord video. So today I'm going to show you guys how to use the Commando framework, which is going to be useful for handling your commands because in the past videos I've always used the message event to handle all of our commands. I mean, it works, but there are a lot of things that can be done much easier by using the Commando framework. And it's much more recommended to use this framework because it allows you to keep all your code more organized, because if you use the message event, it's just going to look like a giant mess, because really what it is just a large if-else statement and all of your logic goes in there. And if you look at it, it's going to be hard to read, it's going to be hard to maintain, things like that. So it's just better to use the Commando framework so that you can keep your code organized and keep everything nice and neat. And it also takes care of a lot of things for you, which we will see as we build our commands. The first thing we want to do is we're going to go ahead and install discord.js commando. So we're going to go and clear. We're going to say npm install discord.js-commando, and that should install it for us. Oh wait, what's this? Okay, so we have it installed now. So I'm going to type in code dot to open up my text editor. I'm using Visual Studio Code, and I'm in my commando.js folder, the directory. I'm going to create a new file, call it bot.js, and I'm going to import the Commando framework or the Commando module just like this, discord.js-commando. That's going to import the entire module and store it inside the Commando constant. I'm going to go ahead and instantiate a Commando client. So we're going to say const client equals new commando.commando client. Okay, so in the previous videos when we used the main library, we're doing const client equals new discord.client. Okay, but this time we're doing commando.commando client. So the commando client is actually a subclass of the base client that's part of the main library. So every single property, option, event, method that the base client has, we can use it inside this commando client as well, because it inherits everything, because it extends it. So inside the constructor of the commando client, we can pass in some properties. We can say owner, and we're going to pass in our ID because we're the owner of our bot. This gives us full control to the bot in any guild that the bot is in. Okay, so let's go ahead and also pass in the command prefix property, and we're going to say the command prefix is dash, and we're done. There's a bunch of other stuff too. If you really want to dive into it, you can just go to the docs, click on commando clients, click on commando client options, and you'll see command prefix, command editable duration, non-command editable, owner, invite, a bunch of other stuff. Okay, so we can also log our bot in the same way we do using the base clients. So we can just do client.login, and we pass in our token. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to bring in const path equals require path. So path is a Node.js module, so it's part of Node.js, so you don't have to install it. Okay, it's part of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a folder called config, and I'm going to create a file called config.json, and I'm going to store my token in here. In past videos that I've made, I've always exposed my token just like in the main key. And I know a lot of people tend to just like copy and not really think about what they're doing. I want people to actually, do things, with good practice. And although this is not the most secure way to secure your token, but it is much more better than just pasting your token like this, because someone could easily just look at your code and see it. But if you have it hidden inside a config.json file, then what you typically do is you would git ignore this file. If you're deploying your code on GitHub, you would git ignore it, and then your GitHub repository won't see this folder. Like, it won't show up to other people. Okay, well, it won't be staged and it won't be pushed to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say const config equal require. So I'm going to require this config.json file. To do that, I'm going to need to pass in the entire directory. So we're going to do the ./config/config.json, but I don't want to do it this way. I want to use the path module to do it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say path.join. So we're going to say __ dir name, which means the current directory. So our current root directory. And I'm going to join it with config. Okay, so a config directory, and then we need to say config.json. So this will build like the actual path for us, okay? And it'll require this config.json. So watch this. If I go ahead and if I just do path.join, this will build the current directory, concatenate with the config, concatenate with config.json. So the actual path itself. Okay, but don't worry too much about it though. But all we need to know is we just need to require in the config.json file. So once we require the JSON file, we can actually reference the keys as if it was an actual JSON object. So we can do config.token because that's the name of the key right over here, and that's how we'll log our bot in. I'm going to do a simple client on ready because remember the Commando client is a subclass of the base client, so we can just use the same ready events, and we're going to do client on ready, console.log, bot has logged in. Okay, perfect. So our bot's logged in. So now let's actually register our commands. Okay, so let's go ahead. So one thing that I should mention is by default, the Discord Commando framework, it has built-in commands. So you can see this as Commando has built-in commands that should be useful for just about any bot. You can see utility. There's utility commands, and there's just regular other commands that you might need. So you can also disable commands too, which is pretty awesome. So let's go ahead and actually register our commands. So let's say, for example, if I want to create different commands for different use cases. So let's say I have admin commands and I have a bunch of miscellaneous commands. I want to put them in separate groups. Okay, so that's how we're going to group our commands together. Because if we were using the message events to handle our commands, there's no way we could group it, right? We would have to literally do a huge if-else case to handle each one of the commands, and then we have to make sure we check the permissions of it. Now, obviously that it works, but again, the whole point is to keep everything organized and clean. So what we're going to do is we're going to register a couple groups. So we're going to say client.registry. So this is the command registry object that we're getting, and we're going to use that to handle and search up command groups, but that's what the registry does. But for now, we're just going to register commands. So we're going to say register groups, right, plural, and this is going to take in an array of arrays. So in each one of these arrays, we're going to specify the group name. So we're going to say mod for mod commands, and then we're going to say mod commands. And we're going to say misc for misc commands, and that should be fine for now. Then what we can do is we can also register the built-in commands by saying register defaults. This will register all of the built-in commands, the built-in arguments or argument types, and the register defaults. There we go. It'll register all of the argument types, groups, and commands. Okay, if you want it, that is, but it could be useful. And then we're going to say, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to say register commands in. So here we need to provide the path to our folder that's going to contain all of our commands and the subdirectories, the groups for the subdirectories. So we're going to create a new folder called commands. And inside this folder, I'm going to create two subdirectories, one for mod and one for misc. So the names need to match. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say register commands in this commands folder. So we're going to say path.join __ dir name, and then commands, just like that. So we'll register everything inside this commands folder. Okay. And yeah, that should do the trick. So let's just go ahead and start our bot. So nodemon bot.js, bot is logged in. Let's do dash groups. We can say mod commands enabled, misc commands enabled, commands. So this dash groups is part of the utility built-in commands, I think. No, it's part of the these commands. I don't know what this group is called. It seems like it's just the commands group. Yeah, it's just the commands group. And we can also do dash help, and they'll send us a DM. And you can see we can reload. So we can also disable commands as well, which we might do in a different video. We're not going to worry about that for now. We can see how awesome this is, right? We can build a simple command system just using this framework. So let's actually set up a couple commands. So I want to set up a couple mod commands. So let's do that first. So let's go ahead and go into this mod folder, because that's where all of our mod commands will go. We're gonna right click, we're gonna create a new file, we're gonna say kickcommand.js because we're gonna create a kick command. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say, well, I'm gonna first import the Commando line again, or I'm sorry, the Commando module again, because what I need to do is I need to actually extend the command class. Okay. In order to actually register, or well, not register, in order to actually create a command, we need to actually extend this command class. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say module.exports, and we're going to say class kick command. You can call it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it the same name as the file name. It doesn't have to be the same, but just saying it like this. Extends commando.command, and then curly braces. Okay. Now we need to specify the constructor. The constructor only takes in the client object, and then what we're going to do is we're going to call the constructor of the superclass. So to do that, we're going to use the super keyword. The superclass in this case is the command class. Okay, if you guys don't know anything about object-oriented programming, I would highly recommend you learn about it because it's a very important programming paradigm, and it's important that you know it because I mean. The entire library is object-oriented too, so it'd give you a huge advantage in understanding how the library works. So I highly recommend learning about object-oriented programming. But anyways, so in this case, the superclass is command, and the subclass, assuming that you guys understand object-oriented programming, the subclass is the kick command class. Okay, so every single method, property, event, whatever that the parent class command has, kick command will also inherit as well. Okay, but we need to call the constructor of command. So to do that, we're going to say super, and we're going to pass in client because the command class the command constructor takes in two parameters. It takes in client and takes in the command info. So for the command info, it's just an object, and this object is going to literally be a bunch of properties that we can specify. So this is where all of the restrictions, all of the magic happens basically, right? We can specify what the name of the command is. So we can say name of the command is, name kick. We can specify the group. So the group is going to be mod, okay, because that's the name of our group. A member name is going to be kick. And then description, we're just going to say kicks a user from guild. Okay, and that is all we need for now. We're not done yet. Don't worry, we're not done yet. There's still a lot to do. There's a whole bunch of other properties that you can specify, but I just want to show you guys that these are the 4 that you need for now. Okay, so what we need to also do is we need to implement the abstract method called run. If you don't know what an abstract method is, so pretty much the abstract method needs to be implemented because there are different implementations. There's different logic that all of our commands are going to do. Right? You can't assume that every single command is going to do the same thing. So that's why what they did was they gave us this run function, right? Async run. And this is an abstract method, and this is where all of our logic is going to go, right? Inside this constructor, just initializes the entire command and gives it the name, the group, member name, blah, blah, blah. The run function is going to actually do the logic. So in here, we're actually going to kick the user. So the run function takes in a couple of parameters, takes in a total of 4, but you don't have to take in all of them if you don't need it. Let's just go over here, command run. So again, it says it's an abstract method in the docs, okay? So let's see. And if you don't implement the run function, so watch this. If I don't implement it, let's actually just run our bot. Let's try to do -kick. You're going to get an error. An error occurred. Kick command doesn't have a run method. Okay, so we need this abstract method. Okay, async run takes in the message object, or it's actually a commando message object. Okay, the commando message object is a subclass of the message object that's part of the main library. So it just has extra properties, but we can reference any other property that's part of the message object because it inherits everything. So we're going to say message, or we're just going to, actually I'm just going to commando message just so I'm not confused. And then it takes in another property called args, which we're going to do later. From pattern result. We're not going to worry about from pattern result for now. We'll worry about that later. But watch this. I just want to show you guys how it works for now. And then we'll handle the actual kicking. So if I just say console.log commando message for now, or let's say commando message.content. If I do -kick. So now that we have the run method, we can actually use the command. And you're going to see it just prints out the actual, the content, the actual message. Okay. But let's actually kick a user now. Now there's multiple ways you can implement this. You can make it so that it prompts the user. So like the bot will ask the user for an argument, and then it will take the argument and it'll actually kick the user. But I think it's better to use just like, one single command, passing the ID like that, and then it'll actually kick the user. I think that's just much more better. So what we're gonna do is we're going to go back to the docs, and I want you guys to really understand this command info object and really understand all of these different things that you can do. So a couple of things that we need to make sure we have set are the user permissions and client permissions, because obviously if I try to use the -kick function, the -kick command on my other account, it's going to work, right? And you don't want that to happen, because that means anyone's going to be able to kick anyone. You don't want that to happen. So let's go ahead and specify user permissions. And this is an array of role resolvables. So we want to say that the user needs to have kick_members permission in order to kick users. Okay. You can also say they need ban members as well, but that wouldn't really make sense. But if you really want to make it secure, you would pass in other permissions as well. Okay. But we'll just say they need kick members. We also need to say client permissions as well. We want the bot to have at least kick members. Okay, but yeah, this should be fine for now. Okay, so now if I try to use this command, it's going to say the kick command requires you to have the kick members permission, which this other account doesn't have that permission, so we can't use it, but I can use it over here and it'll be just fine. Okay, my bot also has the admin permission as well, but if I try to do -kick, it's going to say I need the kick members permission for the kick command to work, because it doesn't have that permission because we set it over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and give it that permission. All right, so that's how you would set permissions. And finally, we need to set in arguments. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to go over to down here. So you can play around with all this, but what we're going to do now, is we want the arguments just from the message itself. So I'm going to say args type like that is just going to be a single argument. Okay, so what that's going to do is going to take in the arguments as one argument. Okay, so this only works if args is not specified. Okay, so you can see when single, the entire argument string will be passed to run as one argument. When multiple, it will be passed as multiple arguments. So I'll show you the difference. So let's say if I just want to kick one user at a time, then you'd want to have args type set to single. So so since we have an argument now, we need to take in the args, or the arguments parameter. Okay, and let's go back here. Args just like that. It's either an object or string or an array. Okay, it could be anything. It could be either one of the three. So if I do console.log args, just log that to the console, and if I do -kick 123, you're going to see it's going to print out 123. Okay, so that really should be the user ID. So let's say if I want to kick multiple users, right? Let's say if I did something like with single, let's say if I did 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? This whole thing is going to be interpreted as one argument, and you don't want that. You could have like that, but you'd have to parse it yourselves. Right, but why do that when the framework can do it for you? So what you do is you just say args type multiple, and now we can have everything parsed for us, or tokenized for us rather easily. So we can say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, and you're going to see we have an array of all of these IDs that we can use to kick every single member. Okay, so if I just did kick 1 2 3, that would give me an array of 1 2 3. So this is useful if you want to kick multiple members. Okay, but for now, we'll just do single, just to make things simple. But okay, so let's go ahead and say, let's see, instead of arg, I'm going to say user ID. How about that? So what I want to do is I want to get the user ID. So I'm going to go ahead and say let's guild equal commando message dot guild, and I want to say guild dot members dot get user ID. This should work because the members is a collection. I'm just going to console.log it just to be safe. All right, so let's try -kick pybot command message, commando message. Okay. All right. So it actually has it right over there. Perfect. There we go. Perfect. That's exactly what we wanted. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say let member equal guild.members.get, and we're going to say member.kick, and we're going to say kicking. Not really useful reason, but then kicked catch error. Okay, let's try this one right now. Let's try robot 3. Kick. So there we go. We just kicked the robot. Okay, it was really that simple. All right, so that is like probably a really useful example. So for those of you who need, a kick command, here you go. But hopefully this all makes sense. It's really, really not too difficult. And the more you use it, the more you'll actually appreciate it because it'll do a lot of things for you. So just think about it. If I didn't have, if we weren't to use the framework in our message event where we handle our commands, we would have to manually parse all of the arguments ourselves. We would have to set the permissions. We would have to check the permissions ourselves. We'd have to, parse the command and everything. We would just have to do so much more things. But with this though, all we have to do is just define this class, extend the base command class, and then register our command by using the Commando registry. Once we have all of that set up, then we're all good. And so trust me, if you aren't using the Commando framework, you should definitely use it because it's so much better than using the message event. Okay, so I'll definitely do more videos on this. So if you guys like this video, definitely leave a comment down below. Leave a like, subscribe, whatever. And I will see you guys in my next video. So I'll see you guys later. Peace.